Hey everybody, it's Carrie again. Okay, um, if you did watch Attempted Murder Part 2, then you will know what this video is referring to. If you haven't, um, feel free to go back and watch it. However, this should be a little bit of a shorter video. I know I've been hitting you guys pretty hard with some long ones, but shorter one because I think I'm losing my voice. Allergies, can't help it, sorry. But two, because I wish this one was longer. I wish there was more to say. This would have been a wonderful longer story, but you'll find out why. There's not too much that can be said on it. One, when I was a child, so somewhere between 10 to 12 years old, and we lived in a very small town. The name of the town was Abbotsford, Wisconsin, right in the exact middle of the state of Wisconsin. Tiny little town, drive through kind of town for truck drivers, basically. Nothing really there. We lived in the trailer court. We were, keep in mind, this was like 1980, 82, somewhere in there. And we were considered basically white trailer trash. I don't know, that's where I came from. So, um, and it's okay because the kids that I grew up with, I mean, it wasn't like um, what you think of, community, lower class communities today. It was because it was a small town, there wasn't, that much crime or, anything to really be concerned about. So, you could have poor people. There was nothing there to do. And anyway, it was an all white community. Okay, I've labeled this, um, you know, that I was accused of, or not accused. Um, I'm just gonna tell a story because it's like I've said in my intro video. So much has happened to me in my life that it's just unbelievable. And so going all the way back to, about a 10-year-old, it's like I said, somewhere between 10 to 12. All I know is my parents did not go out much because my father was a truck driver. So he wasn't really home a lot. If he wasn't driving truck, he was racing stock car somewhere. So it just happened to be this particular weekend that both my parents were home and they decided to go out drinking. And because we were, smaller. Let's see, I had to be 10 because my brother was just a tiny toddler. So I was about 10. My sister was 6. My brother was about 2. And I was responsible for everyone. I was babysitting at 10 for all the neighbors and stuff too. I was a pretty responsible kid. But on this particular night, um, well, before I go into the night, I'll actually go into my friend. Now, I'm completely guilty of not remembering her name. And it was probably only because I knew her for a very short time and my family moved shortly after that. So I had a lot of different things to get adjusted to and different names to know and to move on with life as a young kid. You don't recall all the fine details, so to speak. But earlier in, I don't know if it was that week or the week before, but it was relatively close. This new family had moved into town, and they actually lived in a better part of town than I did. So, like I said, I was trailer trash. And so they had moved in, and they had a daughter who was my age. So she was in school with us, and keep in mind, I was a 10-year-old. I had seen nothing but these white people in this tiny little town of a couple hundred people my whole 10 years. And this was a black family. And so she came to school, and I was like, wow, so intrigued. She was different. One of the things that, a sidebar note, which I'll be making other videos on, is the bullying that I went through from the age of 5 to 12 while I was in that school. It started right off the bat in kindergarten. There was girls that were the popular girls. I had, I don't know, I wasn't, I don't know how you would put it, but I mean, I was an average kid. I don't think I was ugly, or you know, I didn't think I was. Apparently they did. Oh well, who really cares what they think now? But anyway, I had, you know, short. My mom would always cut my hair really short. I hated short hair. I don't look good in short hair. And it was, you know, jet black and totally straight. And you know, I think that made me look really super geeky. But the girls who were the super pretty girls, that the boys liked, well, you know, they had their clique already by second grade, I think, because suddenly, you know, I was being picked on. There were a couple boys that, you know, they picked on too. And, you know, we just weren't wanted amongst their groups. And I'll go into that bullying quite a bit more because as a very small child to deal with that for as long as I did, it had an effect on my psyche and definitely my the things that you know I wanted to become or the activities that I joined. Um, Maybe that's why I'm so happy secluded now that I don't need society because I was trained for it. I was trained for COVID since I was 5. I was secluded then already, so this is no big deal. Anyway, back to my friend. I don't recall her name, but she came to the school and I was very wild with her. I'm not gonna lie, it was because her skin color was different. I'd never seen anything like that before, really not even on TV. I was shocked. But I immediately wanted to talk to her. I immediately, you know, for some odd reason, I do gravitate towards the underdogs, towards anything or anyone that's completely different, out of the norm. Um, that's just me. But so at recess, the first recess, I immediately started talking to her, and she had this hula hoop. I'd never seen a hula hoop before. I didn't know what hula hoops did, how you operate them. And she was, you know, swinging it around her hips. I was like, that is so cool. You know, what is that? And then she explained it and she helped me try it. And she was so nice, so wonderful and nice. And then every recess, you know, I would see her and I would talk to her in school. And in the week or two, you know, that she was there, I I felt, you know, she was my friend. She was one of the only kids. You know, there was a couple others that were, you know, shyer kids that didn't gravitate towards the social groups that I definitely hung out with, and you know, we played around on the playground on swings or you know, our little patty cake games, jump rope, stuff like that. Um, and then you know, she would participate with us as well, but she also got along with the other girls, the more, you know, popular girls, as you might call them. So that's a little history of them coming to town, you know, how I knew her. And anyway, this particular night that my parents had gone out, I was responsible for my brothers and sisters, and I was responsible for a lot of things. Like by that age, I could wash and dry and put away dishes, vacuum, um, yeah, a lot of you know basic household chores I was doing already at that age, and so laundry was another one of them. And I had taken the laundry out and hung it on the line during the day. It was probably somewhere between 8 to 10 o'clock at night. All I know is it was dark, and it must not have been a full moon because it was dark. And looked out the window, the door, kind of waiting for my parents to come home, thinking, it's getting late, not realizing they're probably not coming home till midnight, 1 o'clock, you know. And they and I saw the clothes on the line and I thought, oh, my mom is going to freak out and be so mad at me if I don't go get those clothes off the line. So it's late at night. I don't want to go out in the dark. We have a dog, but she's, you know, chained up, you know, to the porch of their dog house there. And she had been with me my whole life. They got her when I was born, and her name was Ginger. which I've got another video on Ginger. She was, love of my life, and I had her till I was 14. But anyway, that's a different video. But Ginger does come into play here too. She's an activist. She fought for human rights, and you'll find out how and why. Um, so I brave it, and I go outside, and I'm gonna take these clothes down. I'm gonna bring them in the house, finish the laundry, and then I won't get in trouble. And I'm out there, and I'm taking clothes down, and I'm just about to take this sheet down, and all of a sudden these boys come up around the sheet. I think there was at least 3, if not, there could have been 4 or 5. I want to say 3 or 4. There had to be at least 4. I think about it. Yeah, there had to be at least 4. And you'll find out why I know that. But anyway, so these boys come, around this sheet, and they're obviously a lot older than me. And I would say, maybe 16, 17 years old. And they look built pretty good, athletic maybe, and pretty tough. And I'm just standing there going, yes, of all nights to be outside, there's a group of boys, it's like you sit there and you have these fears of this stuff, like, oh, I can't go out there, it's at night, someone's gonna hurt me. And normally you can go out and nothing can ever happen to you. And the one time that you actually have to, something happens. That's my life. It will happen. So there I am standing there dumbstruck. And luckily, because I had been bullied, I was a very quiet kid. I was the kind of kid in elementary school that I wanted to just sit in the corner. I didn't want the teacher to know I was there. Nobody calling my name. Everybody leave me alone. I don't want to be part of anything. Just leave me alone. I was that shy. I was terrified. If the teacher asked what 2 plus 2 was and called my name, I'd pee my pants practically at my desk. I was terrified. I just did not. No, I think I was picked on so much that I didn't even want to be there. But because of that, I pretty much just sat there and stared at these boys like, what are you gonna do to me? You don't know at that age. I mean, you can't even imagine what could possibly happen. And you don't think about that stuff till you're much older. And so anyway, I hear them talking amongst themselves a little bit, and I hear the one boy say, she's babysitting in this trailer court. And then, and he kind of yelled it, and the other one goes, so who are you babysitting? And another one is going, just hit her. She's the black girl who's babysitting. And I'm like, I mean, I know it was dark, but the second the boy said I was the black girl who was babysitting, one, I immediately knew my black friend from school, and I thought, is she babysitting in the trailer court? I mean, I kind of wanted to just go find her myself. But then, two, my natural instinct was, she's in trouble. These boys are looking for her, not me. And then I'm like, they go, so is she babysitting you? And one boy yelled out something like, she's white. After the boy called me black, and to hit me, I was black. And then the other boy yelled out, she's white. And I thought, okay, yeah, well, at least you guys, I mean, even a colorblind person could tell I'm not black. I was only 10 and I had enough brains to figure that out. Apparently our school system in that little hick town wasn't so great. They didn't teach those boys colors back in the day. But anyway, that's mean. That's mean. I'm sorry. That's mean. Don't do that. But anyway, naughty Carrie. Anyway, so once they've established that I'm white, they start asking me, who my babysitter is, and I'm like, I'm the babysitter. And at this point, there's such a ruckus. My dog is just going bonkers at the house. I mean, she's trying to get free of her chain. She's was always very protective of me, extremely. I don't know, for some odd reason, every dog I've had has always been really protective of me. They don't let people come near me if they don't know them. And it doesn't take long for a dog to develop that instinct with me. But my dog's going crazy. So my sister, who's only 6, opens up the screen door and she sees these boys and she sees me and she's listening to the dog and she screams that she goes, I'm going to let the dog loose. And I think she's talking to me, like, okay, Carrie, I'm going to try to help you. I'm only 6, but in order for her to do that, she had to go off the porch herself down to the dog house and try to unchain the dog. And in a way, I kind of knew that that wasn't going to be possible for her because the dog probably had the chain so tight, she wouldn't be able to pull her back enough to do it. So I just screamed at her to get back in the house. Get back in the house. Um, I don't know, I guess I was kind of a brave heart at a young age already. When I'm put in a panicked situation like that, for some odd reason, I've always had the ability to immediately stop, observe, think. I don't panic a lot. And because of that, it's like the natural things of progression take place. Like I can put two and two together. So my thing immediately was, she's not going to be able to do it. Get back in the house. If they're going to hurt me, they're going to hurt me. Don't let them hurt you. So at that point, I needed her to be the babysitter and the protector inside that house. And I knew at this point too, oh, I'm in so much trouble with my mother. I can't even get these clothes off the line without, you know, something happening. I'm in so much trouble. Too. I mean, I remember thinking that, and then they kept hounding me that they wanted to see the babysitter, wanted to see the babysitter, and I'm like, I am the babysitter. And the one boy had a totally clenched fist, and he's standing there, and he goes, "If you don't tell me where she is right now," and then just like that, bam, you heard this like this chain snap and like hit the side of the house or the deck or whatever it hit, but my dog got free from her chain. And never again did she do that, and never before did she do that. But she got free from it and came running. And the second they heard that bark coming closer, they were out of there. They were gone. Um, I don't know. I might have been seconds away from actually getting punched, but I don't think they were going to just go away without me taking them into the house to prove I was the babysitter or telling them where she was, which I didn't even know she was there. Well, a couple houses closer to the road, there was a family of kids that we knew really well, and they had, I think, a 16-year-old daughter who happened to be watching their kids. And those parents were out as well that night with my parents. So not like together, but they were all out in the same area. And when my parents came home, I immediately told them, what happened, what's going on. I said, I don't know. They thought I was the black girl. Then they thought she was the one babysitting us. And then they wanted to know where she was. And, I don't know. I just wanted to take the clothes off the line. Well, my mom went ballistic. My mom has an on-off switch. She's um, the type of person that's either calm, cool, and collected, or she's just at 100 and just going at people and stuff. But regardless, she ended up started calling in the early hours of the morning, different neighbors, and so she called this neighbor. They talked to their daughter, and she goes, "Yeah, they came knocking on our door." And I told them, "Well, I'm babysitting. I mean, I don't know who you're talking about," and she didn't. She was 16. But she knew, because these boys were about 16, 17, who these boys were. She went to school with them. So she was able to give all the names of the boys. So the next day, my mom's on the phone. She's still hunting down, being an activist. Like, how dare they try to hunt down this little girl? And how dare they hurt my kids? And, so kudos to my mom for being a black activist and saying, hey, this was completely wrong and I'm not going to tolerate it. So we ended up My cat just woke up from her nap, sorry. But she ended up, hunting these people down. The really ironic thing is her boss at her job, one of the boys was his son. And she did talk to him thinking, well, he's going to be the kindest out of this. And he said, no, his son would never be involved in something like that. And refused to acknowledge that his son was even there. Two of the boys, so there's two fathers that denied any involvement, said no, his kid wasn't anywhere near that trailer court that night. The other two boys, their fathers did. They questioned the boys. Apparently, the boys confessed. And the next day, me and my sister were taking our bikes to the grocery store to pick up some stuff for my mom. And all of a sudden, this car approached us and said, hey, your mom would like you to come home. And we're like, well, I don't know, this is a stranger, but we are going home. We're not getting in his car, so I guess we could. So we did. We rode our bikes back to the house. And when we got there was those two boys. And I'm just kind of looking like, that was the moment I was more terrified at that moment. Like, why are they back? What, did I do something wrong? Well, what's happening here? And they had to apologize for what they did, for scaring us. And, the father, I remember being like, see, they're just little girls. You scared those little girls. And then they went on their way. Going, back to school, I was still friends with the black girl. However, she gravitated much more towards my arch nemesis. And I'm not going to give out any names because I'm hopeful that she changed over time and became a much nicer person. But she had an evil spirit. Just the strangest of personalities. Like, I didn't have crayons when I went to school. That's how trashy I was. My mother couldn't even send me to school with crayons, so I didn't have crayons, and we had to color in these pictures. And so she had, like the 64 box Crayola or whatever it was at that time, but it was like massive. And she had the penciler, the sharpener in the back, and so then the teacher said, well, since she had so many crayons, would she mind sharing with me? And she's like, okay. So I had to go sit by her desk to color my picture and share her crayons. Keep in mind, I had black hair, and part of my picture was me. So I had to color in my hair. And my dad had black hair. I think it was like a family picture thing, whatever. And, she was just mean spirited because, I used the black crayon. She had to scream in the classroom, she used my black crayon and it's all ruined now. And oh my gosh. And then, no one, it was like if she called you out on something, nobody wanted anything to do with you. But she was smart enough it's kind of like when you watch the Mean Girls movies now, but you see them as teenagers. She was like that in second, third, and fourth grade already. She had that mentality to try to set people up for stuff, that total manipulator kind of thing. And my, black friend got involved more closely with her. And, that was fine. And I still saw her at recess in the playground, and we talked. But out of school, she would hang around with this other girl. And that was fine because out of school, I could only hang around in the trailer court anyway. And I'm sure her family wouldn't have wanted her around the trailer trash of town. So, good for her. Anyway, that's kind of a vice versa moment, but hey, it's the truth. And but anyway, I can't remember how much time passed, whether they were there 2 weeks or a month or even a week. It was a short time. It was very short. And here's where I'm gonna get choked up. She was riding bike with the other girl one weekend, and rumor has it, the other girl told her to shut her eyes and ride her bike, and she would guide her. Supposedly, she shut her eyes and rode her bike, and she was supposed to ride across this busy road. And she got hit by a car. And she was killed. And the family didn't stay long after that. It's hard not to believe the rumor because she would have seen that car. And it was pretty obvious. And so, I tend to believe that that girl coerced her to do something stupid, knowing she was going to get hurt. But I can't prove it. I can't say it was because she was black or anything like that. It was two girls that were running around town on their bikes, and one got hit and killed. It just happened to be her. But I also won't, because the people, that I know as a kid and their behaviors, it definitely could have, been racism. However, when I hear of racism now, and it shouldn't even be happening, but in 1980 it was alive and well. There's no doubt about that. All I know is if I moved, I look at it this way. If I moved into or had to move into a community for whether it be work or family, or that was the only place with housing or whatever my situation was, where I'm in a foreign culture, whether that be, I don't know, I think like Texas has a lot of Mexicans. I move into a Mexican community, or I don't know, I know there's like areas where a lot of the Chinese gravitate, or the Hmong. We have Hmongs, here, a lot of them in Wisconsin. If I had to like move in the middle of their community and I was the only white person there, I would want to be accepted. I would hope they wouldn't just judge me because of my race and my culture. And I don't even think like this has anything to do, current racism has anything to do with like slavery or anything like that. I think we're well beyond that. It's an attitude. It's a way of thinking. It's the way some people were raised. And until we work past those generations, there's always the potential of somebody starting something, somebody not trusting, a certain culture. And we need to stop that. We need to stop also just because somebody is a certain culture that they're going to do certain things. This is where, that perception and interpretation comes into mind. So just because you've had, for example, with my black friend, just because my interaction with her was great doesn't mean that the next black person I meet is going to be as great. It could be horrific. But you know what? My next door neighbor, moves out and I get a new white next door neighbor, they could be a monster too. It's every single human being that, one, should never be judged, but two, who they are and the relationship you have with them needs to be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. Everybody's different. And no matter what your culture is, no matter what your skin color is, you're unique. You're not just a black person. You're a unique person. I'm not just a white person. I'm a unique person. I am who I am. And so is everybody else. And we got to get rid of the stereotypes. The stereotypes have to go. And once we can start removing the labels and the stereotypes and really start getting to know the person behind the shell, because that look, that's just your shell. That's not who you are. It has nothing to do with who you are at all. And don't let, if I was to give a piece of advice, don't let the world stop you from becoming you, being you. You're always going to fight something. Like, I had to fight the bullies. And, oh, I've got a list of things that I've had to fight. But it doesn't mean I quit. It doesn't mean I let those things define me. I'm not going to let my skin color define me. I'm not going to let my weight define me, or my height, or, if I wear glasses or contacts. So what? I wear glasses and I'm a geek. Okay, well, that's your perception. When I see me, I see something completely different. And what's important is that I stay true to what I see. Okay? If I'm seeing something ugly, it's because I've probably done something ugly. I can feel it in my soul. And that's all that matters. So, unfortunately, people get bad raps, generally based on where they live, type of area, are there a lot of gangs there? Um, gang activity can definitely cost you your reputation. And it can be defined by a culture because it causes a level of fear in society. And I wish we could stop gangs. I wish we could put more faith in allowing God to get justice for us. Back in the day, I don't know how they are now, but I know, like, I like to tell you about his gangs back in the 80s and 90s that I was aware of. I mean, we didn't have gangs. I lived in a tiny little town. Until I moved to some of the bigger cities, I really was clueless about it. But back then, it was more, in the smaller communities, these boys, it was generally boys, would gang together to get vengeance or justice for somebody in their group got hurt or was affected by something, and then they went and got justice for it, and then that group retaliated again back at these people, and these people put back at them until someone was dead, and then, oh, now someone's dead, so now we got to kill one of yours. And it just goes on, and it goes on, and it goes on, and it goes on. It just doesn't end. That's what it was like. I'd imagine it's much worse nowadays. There's no need for it. I have chosen, and I pray that you follow, that if there's any misjustice, that we do still have to trust our justice system, but furthermore, give it to God. Ask God what you're supposed to do with that. Does it even affect you? Part of the racism thing is, for example, what happened over in Minnesota. I do live in Wisconsin. Some of it took place here as well. But, all these riots. Now, I understand people caring and not wanting to seem as, somebody hurt, mistreated, or killed, especially by the police. I also understand I'm not very trusting of the police after what I've been through. But I don't have a choice. I mean, I have to trust them. I can't just keep taking matters into my own hands and go become vigilante. That's not justice. So I trust God. I take it to God. But that's me. I pray more people would do that. The riots were completely unnecessary. All that did was prove that one person got hurt or killed. So now we can just go destroy anything we want. No, none of that made any sense, to be honest with you. you want to, anybody who's, standing on that platform, you're fighting for an injustice of somebody being killed because of their race. Then you turn around and hurt other people. Why? It's like gang activity. Where does it stop? When does it end? Racism can't end if we are continuing to point fingers and blame for one person's actions on an entire community. How does that make sense? It wasn't everybody in that area that caused it. Those business owners, those people who had, homes there, it wasn't their fault. Why are you hurting them? What did they have to do with it? So it just became a big excuse to commit more crimes. And I don't think that the person who died would have wanted to see that, would have wanted their name all over that. I know I wouldn't. I'd be ashamed. And I know that my friend didn't expect me to go out and get vengeance for her life and to hurt my classmate because maybe she killed her. Maybe she put her in a situation that caused her death. I'm pretty sure that my friend is okay. That I took it to God and first and foremost asked God to take care of her, whether she was saved or not. And secondly, that if there is any vengeance to be served, that God serve it. I don't think she would have wanted me or the entire community or her family to go hurt more people. She was a loving, beautiful, wonderful, kind person. I know she would have not stood behind because of what she went through. That she would have stood behind any kind of violence coming out of it. And I'm a big crybaby, but I knew I was going to cry doing this. So forgive me. I can't really end this one on a happy note, but know this. I know what it was like to feel for a moment in time, what it must be like to be Black in a white community back in 1980. Because for one moment, I was accused of being that, and I was about to have the crap beat out of me, and I didn't do anything to anybody. And two, just because I was white and didn't know where the Black person was, it was ridiculous. Completely ridiculous. For no reason at all. Just no reason. And we all gotta stop. Gotta stop somewhere. But it caused me to look at one of the Gospels. So the Gospel that I'm at right now is Luke chapter 10, and it's verses 27 through 37. And I'm sorry, my lighting here is really, really bad, so I hope that I can read this. Here, where's 27? I might have to turn on another light here. Oh, and now my nose is gonna run. You guys made me cry. You made me cry. I did it on my own. Okay. Well, I'm living. Forgive me. I have things bookmarked in here all over. I just need to get a new one to read for this, I guess. Okay, so it says, and he answered, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. And he said to him, "You have answered correctly. Do this, and you will live." But he, desiring to justify himself, said to Jesus, "And who is my neighbor?" Jesus replied, "A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and he fell among robbers, who stripped him and beat him and departed, leaving him half dead. Now by chance a priest was going down that road, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, and you should know back in the day, Samaritans were like the trailer trash. Nobody went near them. So the priest was the good guy, Samaritan, not good. But a Samaritan is, as he journeyed, came to where he was, and when he saw him, he had compassion. He went to him and bound up his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. I'm sorry. It's like half dark in this room. It's really hard to read. Forgive me. Then he set him on his own animal and brought him. It's like I all of a sudden can't read English. And brought him to an inn and took care of him. And the next day he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper, saying, "Take care of him, and whatever more you spend, I will repay you when I come back." Which of these 3 do you think proved to be a neighbor to the man who fell among the robbers? He said, "The one who showed him mercy." And Jesus said to him, "You go and do likewise." So, right there's a perfect example of a man who is injured, needed help, left for dead by robbers. And the priest walked by, but the Samaritan, who had a reputation just for being a Samaritan, as no good, your trouble, is the one who cleaned him, put him on an animal, took him to an inn, cared for him, and then even paid for more care for him. He showed him mercy. And, basically, like Jesus says, you go and do likewise. Don't let your fellow man just sit there. Help them. It doesn't matter what culture they are, because that Samaritan did good. Be the Samaritan. Haven't you ever heard of a good Samaritan? Even though they were known to be the off-breed in the Bible. So, anyway, I hope I haven't offended too many people. I definitely want to hear what you have to say, your comments, your concerns. If it's just going to be negativity and hurt, please don't. Because this world, we're all suffering enough that we don't need to add more painful angles to that. And, in those cases, if you have a bad opinion that's going to just hurt somebody, you probably have your own group of people that you share that with, and you can continue sharing it with them. It doesn't need to be spread here. This is good news and hope for the future of a better tomorrow. So go and do likewise. Later.